What's going on, guys? Flawless here, bringing you part 2, the final part to our viewer suggested UU versus Ubers battles, suggested by Side here. And guys, get your suggestions ready in the comments here or on Twitter or on Facebook. And if you're picked for a suggestion, you'll be shout out in that video. So without further ado, guys, let's go get into the battles. Alright guys, let's get right into these battles. So the opponent here, Jick, is bringing a Zorora, a Mewtwo, a Gliscor, a Blaziken, an Aegislash, and a Greninja. And honestly, this team doesn't threaten mine all that much, and his only Ubers are Mewtwo and Blaziken, and I believe Aegislash is Uber. Not entirely sure. But nonetheless, it's still an Uber team. And so he leads with a shiny Mewtwo and goes for Psy Strikes. As I go for my Stealth Rocks. He goes for Psy Strike again as I went for Explosion, doing a lot of damage. And I bring in my Mega Beedrill. And then he brings in a Gliscor. And I go for U-Turn. And alright, he gets his Toxic Heal going and goes for an Earthquake on me after the Shadow Ball. So he's almost done here, so I bring in my Mega Beedrill, go for the X-Scissor and take him out. And then he brings in his Blaziken and I go for Drill Run here. And he takes me out with the Blaze Kick. He gets his Speed Boost. And I bring in Alomomola, which he switches out. I don't know why, because he'll take the rock damage and faint on the way back in. But either way, so he goes into Zorora, and he gets burned. Unlucky for him. And then I bring in my Amoonguss. He goes for Plasma Fist, and does no damage. And he takes his burn damage, and switches out into Aegislash. And as I go for the Giga Drain. And, you know, honestly, for defense form, that was solid damage from Amoonguss. And he goes for Shadow Claws. I went for the Spore. And then I bring in Bisharp since he's asleep. And I go for the knockoff there. And take it out. And he brings in Mewtwo, who goes down to the rock damage. So not great for him. Then he brings in his Greninja. And goes for a Hydro Pump. Does solid damage there. As I go for the Iron Head. And then he continues the Hydro Pump as I brought in Amoonguss. And then he goes for an Ice Beam. And due to his protein ability, he gets stabbed on all of his attacks. Goes for an Ice Beam as I switch in the Alomomola. And he goes for extra sensory on me. As I go for the Toxic, I get my Leftovers recovery and I go for a Protect. And I just let the Toxic do its work as he does an extra sensory into my Protect. And then Zorora comes out, so I send Amoonguss back in with my Regenerator recovery. And he goes for Wild Charge, takes both recoil and burn damage. And then he clicks in the forfeit because there's really nothing he can do at this point. So thank you so much, Jick, for the battle. That was really fun. Alright guys, let's get into the second battle with Tyrants 1115. And he brought a team of Mewtwo, Aegislash, Blacephalon, Alolan Raichu, Latios, and Decidueye. At first glance I was like, what is this, a mono psychic team? But it's not. I mean, we got some ghosts on the team in Decidueye and Aegislash, and so it's definitely interesting, but I have a lot of counters and a lot of things that can do tons of damage to them. In Azelf I have the knockoff, and I have a Bisharp with Sucker Punch and knockoff as well. It's not looking good for Tyrants here. He leads the Aegislash as I lead my Azelf. Goes for a Hidden Power. I'm not sure what that was as I went for the rocks. Then I use Taunt so he can't King Shield. Then he goes for Brick Break, as I go for the knockoff and take him out. And then he brings out Alolan Raichu and goes for the Z Magic Coat. Not sure why he'd do that after he saw my knockoff. So he's kind of on the struggle bus here. And then he goes for Energy Ball with his Mewtwo. You assume a Mewtwo should have a better move than that for Azelf, but alas he does not. But he is able to take out my Azelf with the Energy Balls. I bring the Alomomola knowing I can take one. I go for the Toxic. And then I go for the Protect as he continues to go for Energy Ball. And then at this point I switch out my Amoonguss. And he continues to go for Energy Ball, which does not work for him. And then the Toxic brings him to 1 hit point, and he switched out the Blacephalon onto the rocks. And then I go for Sucker Punch and take him out. And then Latios comes in, he goes for Dragon Dance, and I go for the knockoff and take him out. And then Decidueye comes in, I go for the knockoff again, as he goes for Spirit Shackle, trapping me in. And I use the knockoff to take him out. And then Mewtwo comes out and faints to the rocks. So, not really a favorable matchup for Tyrants here. Not really sure what that team was. Honestly, it was only an Uber team because of the Mewtwo, and I believe Aegislash, again, I believe is an Uber. But, guys, thank you so much for watching as always. You're all flawless. And please leave a like, comment, and subscribe if you liked what you saw. And please leave a Pokemon in the comments as a suggestion for something you might want to see in the next video. But you know what? You guys are awesome, and I'll see you next time. Bye.